Good evening and welcome to the Finance Subcommittee meeting of the Brockton School Committee. Today is Tuesday, April 26th, and the time is 6:18 p.m. I would like to establish a quorum. Mrs. Ehlers?
Here.
Mr. Homer?
Here.
Mrs. Sullivan? Mr. Rodriguez?
Here.
And the chair is present. So we do have a quorum this evening. I do want to, I apologize, in the previous meeting, I forgot to make an announcement. Mrs. Mendez had a loss in the family, so she was unable to attend this evening. And Mr. Sullivan will be back on Tuesday. He was away. And then the mayor had a scheduling conflict this evening, and he was not able to attend. But before I forget, we do want to wish our mayor a happy birthday. Tomorrow is his birthday, so we were hoping to sing him happy birthday this evening. So we'll have to do that at next week's meeting. But we can start we do have a quorum. So the first item on our agenda is the FY 2023 budget update. And we have...
So I'll start.
Sure.
Chris is going to present. The House came out with their budget last week. So Chris will update you on that. Chris, Aldo, and Troy have been meeting, work out the city's final number for us. And we're getting pretty close to that. And then, so at next Tuesday's meeting, now that we will have a solid number, we'll be able to come to you with the detailed budget about positions, and some positions we'll be adding through attrition, and we'll start that process of the real detailed budget now that we're settling on the final number from the city. So Chris can present what the House came up with, and then his conversations with Troy on the city side.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. So, like the superintendent just said, this is still preliminary. The city is still analyzing, developing their health costs. So we're getting closer and closer. So I'm confident I am presenting a preliminary balanced budget. So we're there. We may be off a few here and there, but we're getting close. So by next week, I'm confident that we'll be there. But I'd like to take you through the preliminary. And we did receive, the House did come out a couple weeks ago with their budget, and it did come in 1.2 million higher. So obviously that benefits the district as well. So if you refer to your development plan, I am projecting a revenue source of 207 million. Revenues from title grants of 5.9, revenue from circuit breaker of 2 million, revenue from ESSER funding of 5.2, and revenue from other grants, which will give us a revenue stream of 220 million. Expenses, the way we balance this out, through attrition, we're looking for a reduction in positions throughout the district based on our enrollment, as well as I'm looking to pre-purchase a number of supplies, toilet tissue, office sundries, et cetera, things of that nature, to bring us to a balance of 220 million, like I said, previous. And the same holds true for our non-net. We are coming in balanced at 13.6 million.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Do any of the members have any questions? Mrs. Ehlers.
Hey, so I'm just curious.
Sure.
Does the school committee have, I know we have revenue from the city, but does the school committee specifically receive revenue for anything? Like, I don't know I'm not sure where I heard this, but I thought like the Keith Field, wasn't that like given to the school committee, and do we earn revenues from that? And is that considered revenue from the city, or does that go directly to the school committee?
I am not familiar with that. I don't know the answer to that. I can look
Okay.
into that.
Yeah, I'm just
I'm not-
curious if there's any other revenue sources that are not represented on here.
No.
Okay, and what about, does the school committee, do we have a budget? Do we have a line item budget for us?
You do.
And where is that?
Well, that'll be next week.
Okay.
We'll be itemizing everything out for you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
Sure.
So Kathy, revenue, just to like when people rent our facilities, and, yeah, that goes into the revolving
We
account.
do have revolving
We
funds.
do have a
for
revolving
that.
account
Correct.
that we use a lot to take care of our facilities. So a lot of when we're renting out fields, the auditorium.
Yep.
Any buildings that we rent, the middle schools, that revenue all goes into the revolving account.
Those are considered special revenue funds, so they're not part of the local budget.
Yeah.
Okay, so where would they be represented for us to see what that looks like?
I can get you balances.
Okay,
Absolutely.
perfect.
Yep.
Will I be able to see budget versus balance? Like what do we?
Also, the revolving account, so they're
Yep.
not. There's no budget. There's just
Okay.
a revenue stream coming in.
Yeah, but don't we know what that revenue stream is year after year so that we can estimate what kind of revenues would get in, just
No, that
what we
fluctuates.
trend?
That would fluctuate. Like again, for facility rentals, we would have no idea how many times our facilities would be rented.
Yeah,
That
because the
fluctuates
last
from
2
year to
years,
year.
it's been
Especially with
way
the
down.
pandemic. That's fair. That's
COVID,
fair.
and
Okay,
it
thank you.
depends
Yeah,
on-
sure.
Some years we get more dance recitals that pay us a lot of money. Other
Yeah.
years we had showstoppers that used to come here and pay us big money, and they wanted to be closer to Boston, so we lost them about 3 years ago.
Okay.
Unfortunately, we've been losing a lot of our rentals of the auditorium to newer schools because of the facilities. The lighting, the sound has been much better,
Technology.
and we're hoping
Yeah.
here to get it
Okay.
improved, but we've been losing some of our revenue through that because a lot of the schools around us have built brand new, and they've had brand new auditoriums with obviously all the updated information, so it fluctuates.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Just wondering if there's any other opportunities out there.
So, Chris, you'll have the budget books prepared sometime in May for us?
Yeah, towards the end of May.
Sure. So, Mrs. Ehlers, in the budget book, you'll see, I believe, because we have an admin that works with that and custodians and things like that for when the facilities are rented out. So I believe those are allocated separately. So you'll see that in the budget books when we go through.
Yeah, because the renter has to pay all fees as well. They have to pay all service fees. Like when they rent, they have to pay for the custodian. Depends on how many people they have. So could be one custodian, could be four. If if it's more than, I think, 200 people, they have to have a police officer and firemen on site. So and that all gets billed to them. We end up paying it, and then we bill them. So,
Gotcha.
Obviously, because they're city employees, we pay them through
Yeah.
payroll, and then we get reimbursed when the renter pays their
Yeah,
fee.
understood. We
Yep.
pay the overhead and then whatever
Right,
the remainder.
right.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think that'll, once you review the current budget book, a lot of that will make more sense when you're
Yeah.
looking at the numbers and stuff. But we'll have them sometime in May.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other members with any questions or comments? No, I think we're good. Mrs. Ehlers?
I'm so sorry. Staff attrition, utilizing staff attrition to help cut costs. Do we have any idea how many heads that represents?
Currently,
Would be up to 60.
Okay.
right now we're at 45. So
Okay.
Any other
Thank you.
questions? Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you, Chris, as always. We'll see you next week, I believe.
You
with-
will.
With an
And every
update.
week after that.
And
until
every
we're
week
done.
after we.
in all my glory, I'll be here.
Yeah, you'll still be much more as detailed.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and I really wish it wasn't still preliminary. I'm frustrated too, but we're getting there slowly but surely. So
It's
there's
okay.
a lot of analyzing that goes into it, and so we'll get there.
We're patient for those of us that have, like Mrs. Sullivan and I, and some of the Mr. Sullivan who've gone through this before, where our finance season is usually a lot more dramatic than it is this year.
Yeah,
So we'll
and-
take this. We'll take whatever.
Like in last year, and we were kind of in a rush because last year we had all the extra money and we wanted to start hiring right away. So we wanted to get. We still have, we are hiring for any positions that are high need and difficult to fill, like any open special education teachers, any open bilingual teachers, specialized, physics, specialized science and math teachers, any of those positions we continue to advertise and will hire. The ones that we're obviously holding off on are the ones we need to do through attrition because it's just some of the class sizes are so low across the district, and we're just trying to level it all off.
I just get so fearful sometimes because using staff attrition to cut expenses can be dangerous if it's not a meaningful conversation about where those expenses are cut. So that makes me feel better that we're being strategic about the hires we really need.
Oh, yeah.
And the staff attrition will be in the areas that we can make change, but it's not going to be super impactful to the student. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's the change that you'll see where we have to reflect the loss of 1,000 kids.
Yep.
And again, we're the highest staffing levels we've been in almost 20 years,
Yeah.
and with a lot less kids. So again, until we get those kids back, and the good thing is we're doing it through retirement. 'Cause
Yeah.
we do have several people retiring, several people unfortunately who have left the profession. Is happening often. There was an article in the Globe today, actually, about just how many open. I think it was yesterday. It was it was Situate, and it was focused on Situate and Boston, and just how many open positions they have. Boston had like 200 open
know.
teaching positions.
It's insane.
We still have 40 or 50 that have been open all year and filled with permanent subs, or some not filled at all. Situate, had obviously a smaller district, but they talked about how difficult it is now to find teachers and support staff because, COVID, people have left the profession, unfortunately.
No, understood. I mean, honestly, even in higher ed, it's been one of those things where I have colleagues that have just basically said, I'm out, I'm going to work for the state, I don't even want to be in education. Like, it's really burnt them. So I understand. I wanted to just clarify and make sure that
Oh,
the
yeah,
staff
no, we've been
attrition is-
spending a lot of time, myself, Sharon, Sue Zakowitz, Kathy Moran,
Yep.
and Parent Information, Marcia. We've been going through classroom by classroom, school by school to see class size, and obviously have to take into consideration who's moving up each grade and how many kids are going in from third grade to fourth grade and so on, to see how many teachers are needed to make sure
Yeah.
the levels and make sure the class size makes sense for everyone. And that's where we're finding the positions. And again, through attrition, there'll be no pink slips.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you.
And I can
very
assure
much.
you, Kathy, it's being done in a responsible way.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's taken a little longer too because we are going class by class and
Yep.
making sure that, first and foremost, the kids are the most important. So, it's being done responsibly.
And it's not about getting class sizes back to 30 and 40. No, this is about, there are some 14s, 15s, 16s, which, it's really low and just unsustainable. But, we are obviously looking at lower class size, especially K through 2 and 3. And
Yeah.
then, they go up a little bit as you go into the older years, but nothing like we used to see in the, high 20s and 30s, which was ridiculous.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. I think that's it. Any other members with any questions or comments? Mr. Rodriguez?
Mike, how does this affect our pre-K and kindergarten with the increases of the classes that we got?
Yeah, so we'll still be adding those, so you'll see those in the details. You're still adding it's the 4 full-day pre-K classes. We will probably need to do a facilities subcommittee meeting sometime in the middle of May, because I've been working with Sharon and Sue and facilities to see how we can figure out where we can get a pre-K center, because we have to be prepared if the federal government comes through with the money for full-day pre-K. We don't have a location. We just don't have enough classrooms. Even though the enrollment's down, you don't have enough classrooms to continue to add pre-K classes, because we don't have the space. So we might be able to make some adjustments and figure out some buildings that we have that we might be able to, almost like the Barrett Russell is a pre-K center, almost setting up another one. So we have the capacity to add more pre-K classes as we go. But yeah, we're going to add the 4 again, which has been the district's goal ever since we rolled back the starting age. What's that?
You have the 4 gen ed pre-K.
Yes. To special education. Yeah, so look, it's at 6. And that's been the goal of the district since Superintendent Smith worked with the committee to change the start date, was to continue every year to add pre-K classes. And this was well before the state and federal government started talking about universal pre-K. But I think we have to start facilities-wise to get ready for the possibility that they add, because we just don't have the space right now to. But we have some ideas, so I think we can do a facility subcommittee.
No, but
I
no
don't know.
towns
Oh,
would have.
sorry,
No,
Mrs. Ehlers?
no town will have the space.
Not
That's
just
what's so
us, it's
difficult
like,
to.
How do you just all of a
Yeah,
sudden
no
add
town will have the
pre-K?
space. It's so hard to say, okay, you're going to have universal pre-K but with no facilities plan.
What do you think the likelihood of us getting that funding is?
It depends on the federal government's budget.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that the president has pushed for universal pre-K. The state is kind of
They're
left
waiting
it
to see.
alone.
They're waiting to see what the
They're
federal
waiting
government
to see
does
what the
first.
federal government's
fair
going to do.
enough.
So they haven't put a lot of, the state has not put a lot more money into pre-K.
There is a lot of chatter that they're
Yeah, there's
really
grants,
looking to push
like we
a
did
lot
get
of
the
funding.
planning grant, the pre-K planning grant. But there's a lot of, so I think they're just waiting to see what the federal government does with their budget, and whether they really push the
So
pre-K.
basically, we just have to try to identify a space so that if we get the money, we can jump on it.
Right,
Okay.
yep, and then have the time to tailor that space to the needs of a pre-K like we did at the Barrett Russell. I mean,
Yep.
the Barrett Russell was closed, and it was a dungeon basically, and it was closed for years. And as you go in there now, it's like you wouldn't believe what it looked like before to now. And we'd have to. I mean, the buildings that we probably could consider wouldn't need that much work, but you would make them obviously friendly for pre-K.
Yeah.
4-year-olds.
Normally, when you start getting these planning grants, these pre-planning is kind of a sign of what's to come. Possibly some money will be flowing in for a larger program. So we'll see
So
what
what we
happens.
can do is.
So it's a good sign.
Yeah.
So what I can do is have June Saber McGuire and Julianne Andrade, our early childhood coordinator, can come to the second meeting in May and present what they're working on with the pre-K with the grant that they have, and just give you an update on what they're working on and
Great. That'd be great.
put that on the agenda.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
And hopefully by then we have some kind of
I was just
indication.
going to say, by then, we might have an indication of if we're going to get the funding or be closer to it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other members with questions or comments? So thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay. Actually, before we conclude that, I just had a quick comment. So I don't know about the rest of the committee, but I've received quite a few phone calls and emails from parents that were really happy. We do have a little bit of funds that helping the junior in the senior class with some of the expenses. They're very overwhelmed. Even the students are very, very thankful. So is this Friday the junior prom?
Friday's the junior prom.
So
yeah.
we just want to wish
Lombardo's.
before other business, we just want to wish the junior class a safe and happy prom night on Friday. Stay safe, enjoy yourselves. This has been 2 years since we've had a junior prom, so hopefully everyone enjoys themselves, and lots of pictures, flood social media so we can see all the beautiful photos, and any other members want to attend.
Make good choices, everybody. Just make good choices.
Great. So anything under new business, other business? Nothing. So can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
And a second.
Second.
So motion's been made by Mrs. Ehlers, properly seconded by Mr. Rodriguez. If we can just get a show of hands, that's unanimous. Meeting adjourned. Have a good evening, everybody.